Happy New Year, Rosh HaShanah Tova, to my fellow congregants, friends, and family. I am Bobbie Cohlan. Some of you may know me as Mimi, aka Grandma, to ECC students Spencer and Asher Hughes, and ECC graduate Carter Hughes. Or you may know me as one of the administrators of our Shir Shalom Friends Facebook page. Or you may know me as the chair of our congregants committee. Or perhaps you're meeting me for the first time. This is me now and how I am presently involved at Shir Shalom. But how did I get there? I often say my parents were a mixed marriage, but not in the way you think. My mom was raised in a more religious home. My mother taught Hebrew school and later on taught secular grades and at a local yeshiva. My dad came from a very secular home where the story is that his bar mitzvah was an alliteration of the Hebrew, and when he and my mom got married, my mom had to create a Hebrew name when they met with the rabbi. My earliest memories are of Pesach Seders in Brooklyn and my great aunt and uncles, and visiting the sukkah up on the roof at the temple on the Grand Concourse in the Bronx where my mom taught and I was in her class. When I was in the sixth grade, we moved to Great Neck. Everyone in my neighborhood and in my public school was Jewish. Most belonged to one of the four synagogues in those days: the Orthodox, where my mom was a third grade teacher, the Conservative, or the two Reform synagogues. My family was unaffiliated. My dad, the secular one, would say, "You're a good Jew if you're a good person. So if you go to synagogue and lie and cheat and steal, you aren't a good Jew just because you went to services and belong to a synagogue." I'm sure my dad also didn't want to pay the dues. So most of the Jewish education was from my mom at home, her Orthodox friends, and attending many, many bat and bar mitzvahs when I was in the seventh grade. I really did feel left out and wished we had been part of a synagogue and part of the Jewish community. It was something I really missed growing up. Though my basic knowledge was not lacking in terms of Jewish thought and culture, I, however, did not learn Hebrew or some of the basic prayers in service. I remember when I went off to college, my mom talking to me about Jewish last names, because all my friends growing up, including my high school boyfriend, were Jewish, and I guess she thought this would be one of the first times in my life that I was going to be with non-Jews. I guess it was Bashir when I attended a non-Jewish fraternity party with my non-Jewish roommate the first week of school and met a boy with the last name Cohlan. My mom had failed to tell me that sometimes families change their names. Cohlan had been Cohen and was changed when Rick's uncle applied to medical school and was worried about quotas. 4 years later, we were married by Rick's family's rabbi. His family were actively involved congregants at Rye Community Synagogue. As a newly married couple, we celebrated holidays with our family, but didn't affiliate with any synagogue. I had always hoped at some point we would, having really felt I missed that experience growing up. In 1977, we moved to South Salem just before our first daughter, Tracy, was born. My father-in-law drove around the area and commented that he didn't see any Jewish names on the mailbox. Fast forward to Tracy being in the second grade. One December, she came off the school bus and told me she wanted to go to religious school and be an angel in the Christmas pageant. That was when I decided that belonging to a synagogue must be a priority. We joined JFC that January. I looked forward to services, holiday celebrations at the temple, and being part of the Jewish community. I started teaching at the early childhood program at Maimonides in Danbury after having taught early childhood at New Canaan Nature Center. Boy, was that a different experience. Rick served several times on the board of JFC. I took adult ed classes, including some Hebrew, and I served on the education committee. I decided to apply to be the first director of the newly formed Early Childhood Center. It was an exciting time for me and for our Jewish families. Jewish identity starts in the ECC, and the families of the ECC make lifelong friendships and become some of our most active congregants. I am proud to have been a part of this and so happy that the amazing ECC continues here at Shir Shalom. When TSI and JFC merged, we were disappointed to no longer have a synagogue in our town, but there was no question that we would become congregants at the newly formed congregation Shir Shalom. I served on the committee to find a name for our new synagogue, and I do think we did a pretty good job, if I do say so myself. Terry Henry, presently our board VP, was an amazing chair of the naming committee. It was a great way to get involved and meet some new people and right away feel part of the community. Having had 4 rabbis that I was close with at JFC, I wanted to know my new rabbi as well, so I had a meeting with Rabbi Reiner. I recall telling him some of my upbringing and also telling him I don't know exactly why Judaism and our synagogue is important to me. Is it in my DNA? Is it something I got from my mom? I know some has to do with family, with history, respect for some ancient traditions and ideas, and also with wanting a sense of belonging to a community. Sometimes you just can't verbalize the why. I don't know that it is important to know the why. Maybe it's just enough to know that it's important for me and my family in this community that I call mine. I have always looked forward to and enjoyed listening to the Jewish journeys of our congregants. We are one people, but come from so many different backgrounds. Jewish journeys are a great tradition that helps us to learn about our fellow congregants and make connections. Thank you so much today for the honor of sharing a little bit about my journey of unaffiliated Jew to active, involved congregant. Rosh HaShanah Tova.